Hey there, persistence runners. Prior to Comrades 2026, so I came across a little something. Uh, I don't know. I think it was more or less early this morning, actually. I saw a podcast with regard to the Comrades route and a strategy to get you to the best possible finish. And one of the things that they discussed was a run-walk strategy. So I thought I'd just put my take on it. So a lot of people, inexperienced people talk about what is the best strategy for Comrades. So with the Comrades route, it is a unique race. If you are from overseas, if you don't know this, this is pretty important. So there is a lot for a road run. There is a lot of elevation gain and loss, both of them. It doesn't matter which way you run. On the up run, there is about 1,800 meters of elevation gain and about 1,200 meters of elevation loss. And then obviously for the down run, it goes the other way. Doesn't matter which way round that you do the route. The toughest part is in the beginning, and then it gets a lot easier as you carry on. So which means that a negative split strategy is the right way to go about the race. Which means you need to hold back in the beginning and then save yourself so that you can put some effort in at the end. One of the things that I have always lived by is that the halfway mark of the Comrades Marathon is at 60 kilometers, because that, in terms of effort, that first 60 kilometers takes as much effort as the last 30 kilometers. And you can never tell how your day is going to go until you have gone past that 60 kilometer mark. So it's really important how you approach the day. And a run-walk strategy is a really important part of that approach to the day. Now, the podcast I listened to was by a really knowledgeable guy. I'm not putting this approach down at all, but they were talking about sort of keeping to specific, run a certain distance and then walk for a minute, run a certain distance, walk for a minute. Now, to me, on a race like the Comrades route, if you were running a dead flat course, like the World 100K Champs or a World Marathon Major or those kind of types of events, that's when that kind of a strategy makes sense. To me, on the Comrades route, yes, it does make sense to walk a lot, and a lot more than you would think to get a good time, by the way. But to run a fixed time or a fixed distance and then walk doesn't make any sense. Because, for example, if you get over the crest of a hill and it's time to walk according to are you really going to walk? No, that's not going to happen. So, and also just bear in mind, I also have run. I'm not a fantastic runner. I weigh over. I'm 1.95 meters or 6'5" in height, and I weigh over 90 kilograms. So, running is not my thing. When I took on the goal of trying to run 10 Comrades, I was never aiming at fantastic times. I was always aiming at just trying to finish and get it done. And in my opinion, the best way to get that done is to actually run it as fast as you are capable, because everybody suffers on Comrades Day. That is, and that was spoken about on the podcast. And I must admit, I did think that was gotten across quite well in that podcast. Is, everybody's going to suffer. It's just the degree to which you're going to suffer and whether you've got anything left in the tank or absolutely nothing left in the tank. So that's, everybody's going to be in that position at some point. Everybody's going to go through a difficult patch, or sometimes more than one, but that's just the nature of the beast. You can't avoid that. So my approach to a run-walk strategy, and I'll just give for an example. I know this was a down run, but when I did run, as a over 90 kg guy whose main focus is not running, I'm actually a paddler, far more competitive a paddler. And I only start my Comrades training once the summer canoe racing season is finished. But I have run a bull run. And it was a down run in 2018. It was also the longest Comrades that I've ever run. So we finished at Moses Mabhida and had to run all sorts of detours through all sorts of places. And it was the longest Comrades that I have run of the 9 that I have finished. I remember running past, I did finish a few Comrades at Kingsmead, and I ran past the entrance to Kingsmead Cricket Stadium with my watch saying 8:39 and was like, wow, this would really have been a good time if I was finishing here, but I still had another 2.5 Ks to run down the road to get to Moses Mabhida that day. And did manage a sub 9, but I ran that day that I ran at Bull Roan, I had 11 planned walks. And the way that I plan those walks is based on the geography. So if there's a hill in front of me and it's significant, at least I'm going to walk part of it. But I plan to walk the steepest part of those hills. That way I'm saving my legs on the most difficult parts of the course. And then the parts that are easier, you can like shuffle up or jog up or whatever, but you can move a bit faster and not put as much effort in. That way you're losing far less time and saving your legs more. And your cardiovascular effort and all that, because you're not sparking your heart, or not that you would ever want to do anything like sparking your heart rate on Comrades Marathon, but you're not elevating your heart rate as much. And the physiology of that is also really important, because if you do, it's all about those zones, and every time that you go into that, or a little bit higher in that aerobic zone, you just burn energy so much quicker than if you keep your energy and effort level much lower. So it's something really to be conscious of. So, for example, just to take you through, and by the way, of those 11 planned walks, 9 of them were in the first half. I only walked twice in the second half. The 2 walks were, I walked, so I remember that I am talking about a down run where I did this, but I walked, once we were through Drummond, I walked on one of the climbs out of Drummond. It was quite a good long walk, but I did walk on one of those climbs climbing out of Drummond, the first long climb. And then my only other walk was a short walk on the steepest part of Kowis Hill, which is the beginning part. So I literally get to the bottom. As the hill kicks up, I walked a short way until it starts to, when a hill sort of looks, I'm just trying to do it with my hand. When a hill does that, I walk the steepest part and then get to where my knuckles are and it starts to level off, and I managed to run the rest. And then because I was well behind schedule that day on the time predictor things, even when I ran through at 45th cutting, it was still saying that I would finish over 9 hours. But I knew, I would say, running through more or less between Kowis and Westville, I knew that if everything went okay and I didn't suddenly cramp unexpectedly, that I was comfortably going to get my Bull Roan, because I was able to run and use gravity to my advantage and pick up speed without really having to pick up effort, because I had a bit of spring left in my legs, and was able to run pretty well in that last stretch. So so let me just talk through the places that I would suggest walking on the up run. So obviously I'm not speaking to elites or silver runners here, because I'm a human being, and those people are aliens in my eyes, who do far more mileage and have far superior genetic abilities than I do, and more time available to train. So I have 3 kids and a full-time job, and spend most of my time running around after those things. And for example, the other day when I was still in fairly high mileage, had to be at my son's school at 7 a.m. to help with a bit of rugby coaching. He's in grade R, and the dads help with the rugby stuff. So I mean, that I had to fit in my long run that weekend around that. So I left home at 4:30 in the morning and showered at the school. I'm speaking to sort of the normal people. And this year I am nowhere near in Bull Roan shape, by the way. I am just hoping to finish. So, So leaving Durban, I'm like running up to Tgate. I'm definitely going to take a walk. For that one, I'll probably walk I'll probably run a fair amount of the hill and walk near the top. But not over the top, but near the top. The reason behind doing that, I find that if you're going to walk, and it doesn't really matter where you're going to walk, at least if you say, for example, you're going to walk more than once on a hill, one of your walks should be near the top. That way, when you're getting near the crest of the hill, you're bringing your heart rate down and bringing your effort level down and recovering. But then you need to start running again before you get to the top so that you're in running rhythm, and that when you get over the top, you're in that rhythm, and then you can let gravity assist you when there is a downhill. Because on the up run, particularly in the first half, you're going to feel like that doesn't happen much. But for example, on Tgate, there is a situation like that where as you go under the bridge, we're going to just drop down a little bit on the freeway before we kick up again. So I will definitely walk, and it'll be quite a substantial walk, even though it's well within the first 5 kilometers of the race, very early. Then on 45th cutting. So 45th cutting, the steepest part of the hill is fairly early. So there I'll take a walk pretty early. And again, it's fairly steep, so it'll be a substantial walk. And then obviously I am pretty experienced, so I also know how it should feel on the day. And I'm very wary of picking my effort level up too early. So I might even take a second one somewhere along the line. Again, that will be nearer the top. Again, hoping to bring that heart rate and that effort level down so that as I crest the hill and then a little bit of a downhill, and it's a little bit there, as you cross the freeway and then start to climb up through Westville, you are climbing, but it's a very, very gradual, it's not a steep climb. So like that kind of part of the route, I would be probably going to just jog up there without really putting too much effort in and not really taking a walk. But I want my heart rate to be down before I start to attempt that. So hence the approach to 45th cutting. Then on Kowis, we're going to be on the other side of the freeway this year, which means that we're going to go up a pretty steep, it's normally an on-ramp for traffic, but that's going to be the steepest part of the hill. Then once we're up onto Old Main Road, it will flatten, there's a garage on the left-hand side. It will flatten off for a short bit. So I'm going to walk that on-ramp. I'm definitely going to walk that. Then as it flattens up a bit, I'll run again. And then once you're on Old Main Road and the hill starts to kick again, the steepest part of the hill is the first part of the hill. And Kowis has 3 stages when you are on the up run. The first part, so 3 stages. The first part is the first part. Once you're on Old Main Road and it starts to kick, I'll walk there. Then as you get to there's an intersection with one of the suburban roads on the right. It does that kind of a thing a little bit where it's steep and then it levels off. And I'll definitely be running from there. And then when you get to the top, the road bends to the left a little bit. And again, it levels off even more. And from there, I'm definitely going to be running. And then again, you crest the hill and run down into Pinetown. Now, one thing about that hill, that is a proper downhill. It's a kilometer, and you have to be really, really conscious on the up run you get very few of them in the first half, but you have to be very, very conscious of the downs. You have to really protect your legs. Don't overstride and put your foot down out in front of yourself. Make sure that your hips, you're putting your foot down underneath your body, and that you are and not braking, and that sometimes you have to pick your cadence up a little bit, but just protect your legs from impact. And without putting any effort in, obviously you're going to allow gravity to help you, and you will naturally pick up speed. You want to make your footsteps as quiet as possible. And that, if your footsteps are quiet, it means there's less impact, which means that you're saving your legs. Obviously, you don't want to go too crazy on the cadence, though. From there, you're going to drop down into Pinetown, which is undulatingly up. It's not flat. You are going to be at a net altitude gain as you go out of Pinetown. And then, obviously, you go over the railway line, climb up over the railway line, short little dip down. under the bridge of the M13 freeway, turn right, and up we go for 4 kilometers. Fields Hill, biggest hill of the day. But you are pretty fresh. You've only run 20 kilometers and you've done all the training that you've done. So you're going to have to be really, really careful. Again, one of the steepest part of the hill is you going up an on-ramp now, heading up towards Kloof, and you've just run underneath the road that you are going to run up to, and that's a very steep part of the hill. For us normal human beings who are running, anywhere from 9.5 to, your Vic Claphams and trying to get in their subtiles, like walk. The steep parts of the hill, you're definitely going to walk, and you're going to walk big chunks there. And okay, like I am quite lucky. I do know the route very well. I have grown up in the area almost my entire life and spent, I had grandparents who lived in Pietermaritzburg. My aunts and uncles have run many Comrades before me, and I've spent years seconding them on bicycles before I could even drive, and in cars myself. And I'm a paddler, so we're driving to Maritzburg to paddle all the time. And so I do know that part of the route really well. But you can see, even if you are inexperienced, you can see where the steep parts of the hill are. That's where you want to walk. And then where it's not as steep, that's where you might want to shuffle. Be very, very careful and conservative though. Once you start that climb, once you're exiting Pinetown and you're going up that on-ramp or glide on, you are pretty much going to be climbing the entire time until you get to the top of Hillcrest. Have a look at the route profile. You'll see what I mean. It's pretty much up in gradient all the time, and take lots of walks on Fields Hill. You will make it up later if you do. Then once you're at the top, again, it does flatten off as you get to the top, but make sure that you take a walk. It's sort of, while it's still climbing, it bends to the left, and the first village road turnoff is on your left. Like, take a walk somewhere there, a decent walk, bring your heart rate down, then start trotting again, but be careful with your effort level. And then once you are over the top and in Kloof village itself, then you're going to be still on the freeway, but you want to be comfortably running in rhythm. And you're going to run for quite a while once you've hit the top of Fields Hill, without really taking too many walks for quite a while after that. Because although you are climbing steadily, there's not much that's got any teeth for quite a while. The one thing though is, as you're approaching Winston Park, there is a hill that is known to locals as Fire Station Hill, so you run up the freeway, you go through Kloof, through the village. So you've turned off the freeway, you go through the village, you run out along Old Main Road again, and then you cross the freeway at what's called Maytime Stores and run back onto the freeway again for a short bit, and then you climb an off-ramp. So again, that off-ramp is relatively steep. You might want to take a short walk there. So don't elevate by taking a walk here, you won't lose much time, but you will save a lot of effort. And I do think it's a worthwhile place to take a little walk on that off-ramp. You're then going to go over where the robots are, and you're going to go down parallel to the freeway, past some shops on your left, and you're going to zigzag a little bit away from the freeway and then dip down a little bit, and then there's a short, relatively steep climb, Fire Station Hill. You will run directly past the fire station on your left, and they'll probably have a couple of fire engines parked on the road on the left. They normally are out supporting the runners. Again, there are sections of it that are relatively steep, but that's one that I would approach. I would want to be taking a walk near the top of it. It does flatten out. There aren't too many flats on the first half of the up run, but it flattens out as you zigzag around the petrol station. So I'll take, that's an example of where I'll take one walk, and it will be actually more or less past the petrol station is where I will take my walk. Then after that, you're going to go past the petrol station, over the freeway again, still on Old Main Road, And then after you go up the over the freeway, it starts to just steadily climb again. Again, there, just I wouldn't necessarily plan walks for this area, but there is one part where it does kick up a little bit, and you can see where there's, I'm just going to call them knuckles. You can see where there's a knuckle. That, if you're feeling like you need, that's where you want to walk. You want to walk the steep part, and then where it's flatter, you want to be shuffling. And hill crest is called the crest of a hill for a reason, so because you are going to climb all the way through. But it is, most of it is relatively steady. Again, as you go over and down, you're going to go down what's called Heartbreak Hill. Again, just like I said in Kowis, protect your legs, make sure there's very little impact. If you slam your feet down into the tar, you're going to feel that later. And what follows is Botha's Hill. So, and the other thing about the uprun is you're going to have support. Like there's going to be lots and lots of support on the road, even though for people like me, all the way more or less to probably the start of Kowis Hill, it's going to be dark. But there'll still be loads and loads of people on the roads. And that area there through Heartbreak Hill and through Hillcrest, loads and loads of support. And then after you've run through that dip at the bottom of Botha's, it's going to get a lot less in terms of spectator support. So just be prepared for that. Yeah, sometimes, you know, you get carried away and the people lift you through. I remember in about, I can't even actually remember what year it was, but it was an uprun and I was supposed to be running with a friend. And wow, the guy got carried away with the crowds and he would run away from me while I was walking. And we went through halfway together. And I'd done a whole lot of walking. He had done none, but we were still together. And when we started to climb in Chonga, I sort of walked away from him and never saw him again and beat him to the finish by over 40 minutes. So, yeah, just be careful of the crowds. Botha's, 2.2 kilometers. Again, it flattens out as you get, you know, the steepest part of the hill is the part that winds up the hill just after Sugarloaf Centre. And as you get up past Kersney area, it really isn't that steep. So there's a long left-hand bend, actually. And once you've done that left-hand bend, it really flattens out quite a bit. So I'm definitely going to have a big fat walk somewhere early on that hill. On Route Tester, I did it. And obviously, we'd only run about, I don't even think we'd run 2Ks. And a whole bunch of people ran past me and were like, oh, why are you walking so early? I ran a really easy day and got to Maritzburg before them. So, yeah, just I would plan, you know, for normal human beings, I would plan at least 2 walks, but you're going to do it before you get to Kersney or before you get to that long left-hand bend where I think it's called Botha Road comes in from the left, but you won't know that if you aren't a local. And, you know, take a substantial, when you take those walks, make them substantial. From there, you're going to go past Kersney College and all the cheering boys who will be out on the road to support us. You're going to crest Botha's Hill, and finally, you will feel a little bit of respite, having run, I'm not sure exactly the distance, but it's about 35, might be 36. And you'll start the drop into Drummond. There are 2 short downhills with little bumps interrupting them. And then the last one is a long sort of drop down into Drummond. Protect your legs, just like I mentioned earlier. That'll take you down into Drummond. And now you have run more than a marathon. So you're going to feel tired. I mean, what marathon have you ever run where you haven't felt tired at the end? And you've got Nchonga sitting in front of you. And this is where a lot of, I would say, it's not the hardest hill on Comrades, but it's probably the most significant hill on Comrades. It's got a significant backside. It's the first hill that will actually have a significant backside to it. So, you know, again, walk, run up it. But, you know, if you're going to run 2 minutes, walk 1 minute, that's fine. But use decide where to walk. It's quite steep in the beginning, and as you get to the top, it definitely flattens out. So you want to plan to walk where it is most advantageous to walk, and run where you can, and where it will lose you the least amount of time. So yeah, make sure that you are aware of that. It doesn't, yeah, there aren't really any, like, you can't actually, it's not that easy to see that kind of thing happening, but you can, the road does sort of gradually slope up, and then in other places flatten out. And again, if you're gonna be walking there, you want it to be significant walks to allow you to recover. You're not going to just sort of take a few steps walking. You want to bring your heart rate down. That will bring your effort level down. It will bring your all your the energy systems that you are using. That's what's going to make you more efficient and pay off at the end of the day. So make the walk significant, which does mean that you might need to make the runs a little more significant as well. But yeah, don't sort of run 10 steps, walk 10 steps. Or I sometimes see people doing light poles. That really wouldn't be my advice. Or not at that stage of the day anyway. From there, once you've crested in Chonga, you've got a significant backside of the hill to go down. You still are going to be very conservative and wanting to be protecting your legs, although gravity will help you. But if you've got good running technique, you can pick up your speed, but you can do it in a conservative way that's going to save your body. And from there, you are going to run a very undulating part of the route for a long way. I would say that my next planned walk would be, once you've passed Nchonga Caravan Park and you've turned right, a T-junction right. So you pass Etembeni Deaf School for the Handicapped, wind a little bit, T-junction right, and you are now on Harrison Flats, which is not flat. Because as you look up in front of you after you've passed the T-junction, you'll see that it is uphill. I would definitely take a walk on that hill. You can see where the steepest part of the hill is. And I will definitely be taking a walk on the steepest part of the hill, is where I would plan that one. Then you're going to go over the top and then drop very steadily and very gently down towards Cater Ridge for a while. Pay attention to your running form and try and run efficiently. When you've got those, you are going to encounter those very, very steady and gentle downs on this part of the route. So make sure that you are paying attention to that and run efficiently. And that will help you to pick up your speed on those parts of the route. And yeah, so you're going to get to Cater Ridge on a slope like that. You're going to run under a bridge where the railway goes over your head. Hopefully they've managed to properly tar some of that, because it was pretty nasty when we did the route tester on the little climb up into Cater Ridge. And then turn left on the freeway, and then you're just going to undulate for a long time. If you've saved your legs, you should be able to run most of it. Where if you feel the need to walk, save energy and walk, but again, don't just walk randomly. Look for the places where it's going to save you, the steepest parts of the hills. There are some little kickers there that are relatively steep and gradient, but they don't last very long. Like I know there's one part where you're on the left side of the freeway and you've got to get up to a bridge and then you've got to cross the freeway. So like that's an example of an area where if you're feeling like you need to conserve energy, you've got Cater Ridge is about 30 to go. So you still got a really significant long run if you think about it. That's a long Sunday run to go. So yeah, use your brain. Like don't run 5Ks and then walk. Wait till you get to a part of the route where you're going to save the most energy and walk then, and run the other parts. From there, 5Ks between Cater Ridge and Camperdown. One thing to be aware of running out of Camperdown is it's about 400 meters long. It doesn't really have a name, but you've gone through the town of Camperdown, running more or less parallel to the freeway, but through the suburb, and there's like a little 400-meter kicker there. I'll definitely take a walk there, and that's another example of a hill that I will walk near the top of the hill. Try and bring my heart rate down and then run over the top. And then again, you've got a few sort of steady downs that aren't really going to hurt you, where you can sort of open your stride up a little bit and run a bit faster. If you have, again, it's if you have saved your legs. That's going to take you sort of, you'll wind a little bit, but you, on average, you aren't at the highest point yet. So, but the climbs are gentle, the ones that you are going to encounter. So you're going to run up to Omlos Road. Then, so at Omlos Road, you're going to come quite close to the freeway. You're going to turn left away from the freeway. You're going to cut across the roadworks, and then you're going to turn right. And there, you've got a decent, like a decent gradient climb, I'll call it. Again, a lot of us, good place to take a walk, because what's coming after the highest point is a lot of steady, easy downhill running. And you really want to conserve your legs and have something left, a little bit of spring and a little bit of bounce left, so that you can take advantage of those and pick up speed, but without, I wouldn't say, you're not picking up effort yet. But you can naturally just use the topography of the route to help you catch up any time that you have lost in being conservative. And you will more than make up any time that you might be behind. As I was mentioning earlier, I spoke about that down run that I did. When I ran through Winston Park with 30 kilometers to go, a colleague of mine who I worked out of the same premises with, she knew I was trying to run for a bull run, looked at her watch and was like, "Ooh, you're behind schedule, you better catch up." I wasn't worried. I knew how much downhill running there still was, and I knew what my legs felt like. And I made up in that last, I saw her at about 29 to go. I made up on like a typical schedule, I made up 7 minutes over that sort of 29 Ks. And as I said, when I ran under the 7 kilometers to go timing mat, it was still predicting an over 9 hours finish. But I was still running well, and had that spring and that bounce. And it was the down run, but the route, there's a lot of the same sort of topography, where there's a lot of very steady downhill gradients, where if you've got a bit of bounce and you've still got a bit of a stride, you can run much faster than your average speed. And that's going to happen on the up run once you have gone past Omlos Road. The only two stumbling blocks that you have in your way that don't match that are the two Poly short hills, obviously. So Little Polies, you'll run down a long, steady downhill called Tumble In, where you really need to protect your legs and make sure that you're not taking too much impact. But you can pick up your speed by now. And maybe think about your effort levels as well. If you've still got anything left in the tank, you can start sort of emptying that tank once you get to that last 15 Ks. With Little Polies, you're going to go over a river, and then you're going to sort of, it false starts. You're going to think, oh, the hill's coming just around the corner, and then you have to run like another 500 meters, or it might even be 700 meters before the hill proper starts. And then you've got a 1 kilometer. I've done it in training runs, and you think, gee, this hill's not that bad. But on Comrades Day, when you run 80 kilometers, it's a very different proposition. But it's 1K, and I found that you can actually, it depends on how you're feeling, but it's short enough that you can actually, if you are feeling good and you have conserved yourself, you can actually attack it a little bit. I still will walk, but in terms of climbing, this is the first time that I'm actually prepared to put in a little bit of effort to get up a hill, rather than have being conservative in mind. And it's 1K. So, yeah. But even though I've said that, if I am feeling good, I will still take a walk on that hill. Then you're going to go over through Ashburton, and then down another steady hill in between the two Polies. I remember in 2024, actually, my preparation hadn't been that great, and I had been conservative in the first half. I wouldn't say with the primary goal of running under 10, but I wanted to keep it sort of within reach, and had done relatively well to keep it within reach. And I did attack Little Polies with a walk. Lost 2 minutes going up Little Polies, like sort of according to the speed that I needed to run to get to the finish. And then once I'd crested and started to run down, I could feel that I'd taken too much out of my legs going up the hill, because I then couldn't take advantage of the downs. Now, you don't want to, but I've got 10 kilometers to go now, so it's worth a gamble. But you don't want to do that to yourself over in Chonga and have a whole marathon to go and then be faced with the rest of the route where all of a sudden now you've taken too much out of your legs and you don't have that. And that's just an example of where that's over 1 kilometer that I did that to myself in 2024. And as a result, like I didn't make the 10-hour barrier that year. But then you're going to get down to another river. The road's going to bend to the left, and then you've got Polies in front of you. Now, Polies never ends. You can't see the top until you're there. And there's a lot of road construction in that part of the route at the moment. So the road might be a little bit messy and uneven because there's been a lot of traffic on the lanes where we're going to run. There's been a lot of traffic on a confined part of the road, and a lot of heavy trucks use it. So I haven't actually run on that part of the road, but it might be, I would just be aware of the camber, because again, that's another thing that if you're not aware of it, it can suck your effort without you really knowing it, like the finish of the Two Oceans when you're winding down from Constantia. But like for us normal mortals, a lot of us are really going to walk a lot of that hill. When you walk with purpose. Keep the strides going, keep moving forwards with purpose. It's not like strolling through a shopping mall. And you still want to, you still want to walk and run regularly as you go up, even if the walking becomes more frequent. You want to walk with purpose. Most people, I mean, even silvers, even guys who are running silvers, they walk up there, a lot of them. So that's the right approach. If you conserve your legs, I know it sounds ridiculous because once you get to the top, you've got like 7 kilometers to go or something like that. It's very close to 7 Ks to go. I know it sounds ridiculous, but the hill is long enough that if you don't, and I've heard stories of very, very good runners who've pushed it too hard on Polies, trying not to lose too much time. And then what happens is when they get over the top, they cramp, or the spring and the bounce or whatever they've got left just has completely gone out of their legs. So on long Polies, you definitely want to, it's long enough that you need to think about that and probably be quite conservative so that when you get to the top, you can take advantage of the topography. If you look at the route profile, just have a look at that. Once you go over the top of Little Polies, it's just like this all the way down into Maritzburg. There are a couple of little places where the gradient changes, but particularly if you're running at a time goal, that's just going to suck you in all the way to Maritzburg. And yeah, you can make up a lot of time and really pick up your effort levels if you need to. But my experience of having had a successful sort of attempt at a Comrades that one year when I really feel like I was running at my sort of physical potential, like you don't really pick it up necessarily. It's just that you just have a bit more bounce and a bit more stride than almost everybody else on the road. And you pass thousands and thousands and thousands of people, because running a negative split, it's a very low percentage of people that manage it, but it absolutely is the right way to do it. I think the stats are, I was listening last night, I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, but it's about 4% of people that get it right. So it really is a very small proportion of people. And it's on those parts of the route where you are going to make up the time that's going to give you the negative split. So, along with the negative split, along with the run walk strategy, that's what's going to give you. And by the way, it's normal on Comrades in the men's race. It's normal that normally about the first 2 runners run a negative split, and the other guys, because of the racing that happens between them, sometimes they tend to drift over and have a slightly slower second half because of the tactical racing and the fact that they've taken it out of their legs, trying to, take it out of the other guy's legs in the hope that their legs last. And then the guy whose legs last, those are the guys that normally end up finishing first and second. So it absolutely is the most successful strategy. And with the run walk strategy, my approach to it again is to keep the topography in mind. So I have tried to mention a couple of places where it definitely is the steeper part of the hill, to just be aware of it and try and save the most energy. And that way, hopefully, it might help one or two of you to have a bit more legs in the second half. So only a few days to go now. I'm about to dump a whole lot of ice in the bath with some water that we haven't let out from last night, and try and help with the recovery. Did my, I suppose, I think on Sunday we're going to go out and run the Chelsea Bun Run, which will be 10 Ks, but this morning with our very small running group, ran my last significant training run. And stretching and mobility, ice bathing, all that kind of stuff is the order of the day. I'm going to have a little loosen up with a colleague of mine scheduled for tomorrow to try and just loosen anything up and get everything working properly before the big day. And then just lots of strength, a little bit of strength, but lots of muscle activation and mobility, rolling and things like that. And very important, sleep. Get to bed early, wake up early, but make sure you're getting enough sleep hours. And then really pay attention to your nutrition, and don't pick up any weight between now and Comrades Day. And then those last 2-3 days, obviously a bit of a shift in strategy, but good luck. If you are a novice, here's a piece of advice that was given to me, and it's quite strange that I'm doing this before the Comrades, that I'm going to be one of these people that I would suggest that you approach. So if you're a novice and you don't know the route, and when I was a novice I did know the route and I still did this, but and this advice was given to me by the late Tim Blankley, he ran more consecutive sub 7.5 hour times than anybody else. He is Comrades number 47. The reason why I say sub 7.5 is because some of his sub 7.5s were golds. So obviously sub 7.5 is a silver. But he was quick enough many years ago to get some gold. And when he found out I was going to take on my first Comrades, he was a good friend of my mom's, and he told me, run for a little while and run consistently at the pace that you think that you can sustain the whole day. And this was in the days before GPSs and things. So I did have a heart rate monitor, but no GPS. So you're always doing the maths in your head. So I did that, and we had run. It was a down. My first one was a down run. It was 2010, and we had run down both Polies, and we were climbing up Tumble In. And I had noticed that there was a group of guys. There were about 6 of them from Midlands Athletics Club, and one of them had a yellow number on with 9 runs. And that is somebody who is going to do absolutely everything to get to the finish, because they have got their green number waiting for them in the tent at the finish. And they've got lots of experience. So that's somebody who you can bank on. And if their pace has been consistent and you've run for a little while, so that you've observed that, then approach them and ask and say, hi, my name is, and I'm a novice. Can I hang with you for the day? I bet you everybody's going to say, yeah, sure. The more the merrier. Along you come for the ride. That was the advice that I got. That was the advice that I took. The runner who I approached, at the time he was running for Midlands Athletics. I think he still does run for Midlands Athletics. I'm not going to say his full name, but it's Heath. Heath, if you see this, we still greet each other every time that we see each other. Thank you so much for that day. And they got me, him and his posse. They had a small little bus. They got me all the way to Fields Hill. at Fields Hill, I could feel that the impact, being a big guy, I'm very wary of those downhills. You might have gathered that from me talking. I could feel that the impact was getting a bit much, and knew what was coming, going down and down and down into Durban, and it was getting a bit sore. So on Fields Hill, I said to them, thank you so much, guys. Like, it's been awesome having the day with you. I will see you in Durban. I am going to get to the finish today. And I let them go ahead of me down Fields Hill. And they did beat me to Durban by about 2 minutes. But because Heath was getting his green number, they were still in the finish chute when I came through. And I got to thank particularly Heath, but all of them, for dragging me through the whole day. And yeah, to this day, we don't see each other often, but obviously I think he's done more than 20 now. That was 2010, so that was 16 years ago. And yeah, I would consider him like a lifelong friend, and we met on the road at Comrades. So, and he has seen me, on occasions, he has been seconding runs and whatever, and he still, will make a point of coming over to say hello and all that kind of thing. And yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens on the Comrades route. It's one of the reasons that it is called the Comrades, because we are running to honor the comrades who gave their lives for us in the Great War and the Second World War. And we are all comrades in our arms battling together. Everybody's going to have tough times out there. Everyone's going to go through a bad patch. There's nobody that, flies along and has an easy comrades the whole way. So that pretty much is what I would do, what I recommend that any novice does, whatever time that you are going for. It's a really good way to approach the day and really enjoy it. So I would say with a fair amount of certainty that I'm definitely going to be out there. I've just got to avoid bugs and things. There's quite a wicked strain of flu going around my kids' school at the moment, and we've had kids at home sick, but hoping the immunity can fight it off, and then I'll be towing the line on the day, and wearing my mom's number with the yellow background, and hoping to own it, I suppose, for the family, and give that green number to her when we hopefully get across the finish line on the 14th of June. So good luck, and we'll see you out there.